All right. Well, welcome to those of you that were able to join us live. Just a reminder, we'll be recording the session, so also welcome to those who are catching this on replay. It's been great to connect with the KLS community via technology, and we, like the rest of the world, are still figuring this out, how to best utilize in our current situation. So bear with us if we do have any technical difficulties. But great to see everybody. This is the first in what we plan to be a series of Zoom calls to provide a chance for the community to get to know the KLS Foundation board members, to learn about what the KLS Foundation does for you, and allow a Q&A at the end for any questions that you might have. So we'll share some of our individual connections to KLS, why we volunteer our time and our skill sets to the foundation. Just as a reminder, the foundation is an all volunteer board. So what does that mean? Just kind of briefly, all volunteer board. Specifically, none of us are getting paid to do this. So there's very low overhead, which means any donations or fundraising that you're able to do for the foundation really goes almost solely to supporting research and the community support that we provide. There's not salaries paid to administrative people or the board, and that makes it really a personal kind of passion and investment driven mission. And really everyone who's on the board is very committed to the cause because they have a personal connection. So we're here to help you, and you can always reach out to us. We have the KLS phone number, email, and Facebook pages that you can reach out to us if you need assistance. So with that, just brief introduction. I'm Steve Maier. I'm the president of the KLS Foundation and a board member. I'm also a patient. My first episode was when I was 13. My episodes lasted about 2 weeks each. I had 1 to 4 episodes per year through college. They were anywhere from kind of 6 weeks at the short end to 9 months apart, till I was about 22. Then I had one episode at 24, and then my last one at 27. So there was 3 years kind of in between my last two. So I'm now 47 and just in September past 20 years without an episode. It took about 5 years from the last one I had before I probably stopped thinking about KLS every day. I've been married 25 years, so my wife put up with me through KLS episodes, both kind of pre and post being married. We have two children. One's a freshman in college. The other is a junior in high school. So far, knock on wood, they have not had any KLS symptoms or issues with that. And my day job, when I'm not working as a KLS board member, I'm a partner at a Big Four accounting firm. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dani Farber, who's also joining me for this call, to introduce himself and start kind of through our presentation.
Great, thanks, Steve. Hi, everyone. I'm Dani Farber. I've hosted a few Zoom sessions over the past year with the KLS community. One in January when the KLS Foundation launched our patient registry, and the second one in the spring when we spoke with Dr. Mignot and Dr. Goldstein-Pekarsky about the research that is being conducted at Stanford. If you weren't on either of those, I'll also just quickly introduce myself now. I, like Steve, am also a former KLS patient. I had 17 total episodes from the age of 15 to 25. I am 42 now. I've been episode 3 for over 15 years. And when you look at my life now, I've emerged from that decade of serious illness to live like Steve, a very normal, high functioning life, and with very little, actually with no residual impact from KLS. And so, because of that sort of good fortune that the last years of my life have brought, I see it as my responsibility to stay connected to KLS and to try to make a difference. And so I've been an active participant with the foundation since around 2005. I joined the board shortly after. And Steve and I are here today because I think as a foundation, we realize that we can do a better job with connectivity to all of you, to our patient community. And I think that by having these type of chats together, we can move forward in that direction. So I look forward to the next hour or so where we can all engage with one another. With that, I think we can get started. So one of the goals of these get to know sessions that we'd like to do is to share with you, like Steve said, the why and how we contribute to the KLS Foundation. And I think in order to explain what we do and why we do it, it's important for everyone to know the big picture, the main goals of the KLS Foundation. So I like to start there. The KLS Foundation, we have three main goals in our mission statement. The first one is to create awareness. The second one is to support our community. And the third one is to promote scientific research. So I'll spend a couple minutes now speaking about awareness. I'll hand the call back to Steve. He'll talk about support, and then I'll circle back and we can speak a few minutes about research. That should give you a good sense of what we do. And then from there, we can move on to the why. So creating awareness. Look, for a disorder that has an incident rate of 1 in a million, like KLS does, and has these unusual and unique characteristics, creating awareness has not been an easy task. I'll say though, over the last 20 years or so, since the KLS Foundation was started by Steve's parents and my parents, we have come a long way. Back then, there was very little information that was disseminated about KLS, and it often took patients years to find a proper diagnosis. If you fast forward to today, the outreach that the KLS Foundation has undertaken and all the interacting and sharing of stories by the KLS community that the KLS Foundation has tried to cultivate over the years, all of that has led to a much faster patient diagnosis. So that's the first thing on creating awareness. The second part of creating awareness is really about a longer term goal. By making doctors and researchers more aware of KLS, it will simply help our ability to one day understand what KLS is and then ultimately find appropriate treatments and cures. And so just to give you a quick sense of what we've done over the past years to raise this sort of awareness. Well, the first thing is there's been a number of people that sit on our board that over the years have attended various medical conferences. Two, we've worked closely with Stanford University and other doctors and researchers around the world. We've established about a decade ago the foundation Facebook page and group. Many of you might have attended. We've hosted several KLS conferences. And then we've also participated opportunistically in various media opportunities on TV and print, and then more recently on podcasts. And so I guess the message here is that while it used to be sort of next to impossible to find a doctor who had even heard of KLS, today there's many more that know what it is and all the complexities that KLS brings. I think having said all that, we still know that this is a tall task, and we all know that there's a lot more work to do on this front in terms of getting the word out there and creating appropriate awareness about what KLS is all about. I'll leave it there. Steve, you want to talk about support for a minute, and then I'll go into research?
Yeah, thanks, Dani. So the second big goal, as Dani noted, was connecting patients, caregivers, the global community, to provide kind of emotional support and practical support for those that have been through this and continue to deal with it. So ideally, I guess just personally, I can remember the first time that my parents, through NORD and rare disease, were able to connect with one single KLS patient. And this was before I met any of the Farbers. it was somebody in California, and we were able to drive and connect and share just a little bit. And I remember for me, unfortunate that somebody else had what I was dealing with, but at the same time, being able to kind of connect with somebody that was going through the same thing, I think was very beneficial. To me, just again, not that it helped me not have episodes anymore, but just that I wasn't kind of the one person who was dealing with this very unique illness. So, we want to continue to provide those avenues for KLS patients to connect with each other, and also just provide tools to advocate for themselves with medical professionals, with their schools, and with kind of within their employment environments, right? So we all have kind of gone through that and can provide kind of that logistical, practical support on how to make that better. It's not always an easy process. It's kind of if you interact with the right people, it goes relatively well. If in many cases that we hear, which is unfortunate, it becomes a little bit of a battle, but hopefully some of the information and the support that we can provide makes that as easy as possible. We also want to provide, updates on medical research development and really just share kind of some inspirational stories and connectivity, and greater awareness, as Dani mentioned, it leads to faster diagnosis, more compassionate care, let's call that. And we'll talk about kind of care options in probably later in this webcast. And again, that connection to patients and caregivers, and for caregivers to have that same connection as you can get with the patients. So we've also done a few things over the years, and we look forward to other ways that we can support the community. So always open for ideas that people might have. But one of the things we've done is kind of foster some mentor relationships between individuals who no longer are having episodes and those that are currently experiencing episodes, to kind of provide that, hey, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and things have worked out, for others, and people have been able to get through it. So we have the KLS Foundation Facebook page, and there's several KLS groups, all places that you connect with other people. Again, the technology really has allowed for the world to get smaller and the connections to improve. So it's been a great tool in connecting patients and caregivers, and we hope to continue, but very much open to ways that we could do this better, and look forward to hearing from the community. So back to you, Dani.
Great. Okay. So on top of awareness, on top of connectivity and support, the third goal that we have as part of our mission at the KLS Foundation is to accelerate, our scientific understanding about KLS. So a couple things here. First, over the years, the KLS Foundation has encouraged, interest from within the academic and research circles in an effort simply to broaden the number of people who search for both the cause and cure of KLS. And this goes back to some of the things that we've done earlier, the medical conferences that we have attended. And in addition to that, we have co-partnered and co-authored several KLS research papers with other researchers. But what I really want to emphasize here on the research front is that KLS Foundation we're the primary funder of really all the trailblazing research that has been done on KLS to date. The recent KLS research that was published by Dr. Mignot at the Center for Sleep at Stanford, that had some really hopeful and interesting discoveries. For those that aren't aware of that, he identified a genetic marker that may indicate genetic predisposition to KLS. You can, if you weren't on that call that we did in May, that was recorded, and so you can listen to a replay of that. I encourage you to do so. But quickly, he had three really main points. That first was there may be a correlation between the incidence of KLS and this gene, the TRNK1 gene. He also said that there's a possible relationship in KLS patients between this TRNK1 genetic marker and having a difficult birth. And then the third thing that he spoke of on our call was the presence of certain proteins that, down the road in the future may be used potentially as a diagnostic for KLS. So Stanford has really proven to be an invaluable partner to the KLS Foundation over the last 15 years. We've finally begun to have some really interesting findings after years of frustration that we can build upon. And the KLS Foundation looks forward to continuing to support their efforts financially in the hope that they can continue their work to break through our understanding of what KLS is all about. And then finally, on research, as it pertains to our research goal, I think it's important to just highlight the recent achievement that we've had at the foundation to launch our own patient registry. Quickly to go over that, the patient registry has two parts. It is a contact database that really just helps the foundation identify and better organize who has KLS and centralize it all in one place. And then it is also a research database that collects information on KLS patients. It collects information both on their just general medical histories, and then also collects disease-specific information on KLS. And so, look, having that registry up and running and collecting this type of info can potentially spark more interest by medical researchers, and hopefully this curiosity can bring us one step closer to a cause and a cure. I'll talk a little bit more about the research, about the registry on our call to action when we kind of talk about what you can all do to potentially help the foundation. But just to quickly give you a sense, so far over the first 9 months that we've had this registry live, we've had about 150 people that have signed on to our database. 100 of those have fully completed the registry, and around 50 are somewhere in progress with the various questions. And if you look at some of the responses and the data that we've gotten to date, it's really interesting. And so, just personally, I used to fall into episodes during periods of high stress during my adolescence. Either when I was taking a trip or before a big exam. And if you look at the respondents, the way they're filling out the registry now, some of the most common things that respondents are saying they experience is that they often experience unusual stress as well before episodes. So, if we can continue to look at everyone's data together in the aggregate, who knows what we may be able to observe and what that will lead to. That's really it for what we do. Again, it's awareness, it's support, it's research, and I think now's a good time that we can move on to why Steve and I do what we do for the foundation. So, Steve, I'll let you start there.
Yeah, thanks. So Dani and I and the rest of the foundation board, we've been where you are. Dani and I are patients and have watched our families take care of us. And everyone on the board is either a KLS patient or is a parent caregiver and has watched their child suffer through that. I just I always take the opportunity to thank my parents, especially now being a parent, realizing kind of anytime your kid is sick, injured, even skins the knee, kind of the angst that I feel. I just appreciate them more for taking care of me during those times. So we want more doctors, we want more research, so that we can figure out cause and cure for KLS. The more patients and caregivers that we're able to connect and support, provides just that network and resources, and ultimately we want to fund more research so that we can ultimately find cause and cure for those that are suffering with KLS.
I'll echo Steve's words a little bit here. For me, there's really two main reasons why I do this. The first is a personal reason. Like Steve said, we both have been through this. We know what it feels like. We know how painful it is. And fortunately, we've both come out the other side. And so the first real reason is just to give back. I mean, this is a really underserved community, and we want to be there to try to help. On top of that, Steve mentioned in his introduction that he has 2 kids. I also have 3 children. Mine are a little bit younger than Steve's, and so for me, the notion that there may be this genetic linkage to KLS also is another reason that drives me to do what I do. And then on top of that, look, when I think about how I want to volunteer my time and what I want to be part of, I kind of look at it as having 2 choices. One, I can latch on to another great charitable organization and do work there, and that could potentially be very rewarding work, or I can spend my time here with the KLS Foundation. And when I think about those 2, I think this is probably a place that I can make a bigger difference. There's a lot of people that could probably take my unfilled seat at another great organization, but I think there's very few that can take this spot. So those are some of the personal reasons why I do what I do for the foundation. Outside of that, the other reason that I'm here is really for the research angle, and that's a really simple reason. Funding and driving research just brings us closer to our understanding of KLS, and if we understand KLS, then we're one step closer to being able to treat it and cure it one day. So those are the reasons why I'm here and feel it is important for me to be a member of this community. I think that segues into the next part of our discussion, which is how you all here that are on the call today, how we can get you involved in some manner, and how you could potentially become active members of the community as well, and help us with this mission that we're all on. Steve, you want to talk about research for a moment? Just being able to participate in it, and in the ways that people can get in touch with Stanford if they haven't already done so, and then I'll speak about some other ways.
Yeah. So, there's ongoing studies right now, the genetic proteomics study, the actigraphy, wearing an activity band, like a Fitbit. And those studies are going on at Stanford, and they continue to look for people who would like to volunteer. There is a little bit of, requirements on the patient side to fill out questionnaires and go through a process so that the research, has all of the right protocols followed, and research doesn't always happen as fast as we would like, and you ultimately aren't going to hear results until papers get studied. But I just, would put a plea out there for, if you haven't reached out, or if you know other KLS community members who haven't reached out to participate, please do so. If you're interested in participating, reach out directly to Stanford. You can send them an email at klsresearch@stanford.edu. I think we'll throw that in the chat here so that you can copy it down, and it'll be in some of the emails that we send out after the session.
I see that Mateo Lopez just posted in the chat. So for those that haven't been in touch with Stanford, Mateo is the director there that is interfacing with us, and he is helping participants enroll in both of these studies that Steve just mentioned. So that actigraphy study that Steve alluded to, that is, for those that don't know, that's going to measure the circadian rhythm, which is this 24-hour sleep-wake cycle. In some of Dr. Mignot's work, he thinks that that KLS patients may be off kilter and not be on this 24-hour sleep-wake cycle, and they may be more representative of a 25 or 26-hour cycle. So that's one thing that Dr. Mignot is studying. And the second thing, this proteomics study relates to his earlier work, which is a continuation of him investigating a genetic linkage to KLS. So Mateo's here on the call, I see. Please reach out. Again, that is KLS research at stanford.edu. He's the person that you'll be speaking to, and he can assist your efforts there. Yeah, please share the link, Mateo. Thank you. And then outside of research, there's several other ways that we hope that everyone here on this call and our community can get involved with. Steve mentioned earlier mentoring. That's a great way. The KLS Foundation can definitely assist those that have had KLS for many years, be in touch with someone who is much more recently diagnosed. Me, Steve, other people that sit on the KLS board, we have all served as mentors over the years. And, I can tell you that in the relationships that I've harvested over the years in this mentor-mentee relationship, these mentees, they're grateful to have someone that they can call, that they can email, that can answer the questions, or simply just to talk. So that's something that we hope that we can continue to foster. Outside of mentoring, look, we'd love anyone to be able to volunteer in a number of different ways. Please just let us know what you're good at. If there's a particular skill set, if there's an area of expertise that the foundation can benefit from, we'd love to hear from you. Some of the things that come to the top of my mind, database or website management with the patient registry, with our website, graphic design. We are about to initiate a new initiative on grant writing. If someone is versed there, if someone is experienced in helping organize a conference, we have ambitions to do more conferences down the road. However you think you can help, please get in touch with us and let us know. And then finally, again, going back to the registry, the success of our registry is really going to be driven by a network effect. The more people that sign up for it, the more people that are part of it, that's the more valuable it's going to be. So I really encourage anyone that has been diagnosed with KLS, or if you're a caregiver and maybe the patient doesn't feel comfortable or isn't of age to register for the registry, I encourage you all to sign up for it. By being part of it, you're just providing info that can help us get to a cause and cure faster. And KLS, given that it is so rare, every single patient's data can help increase the odds that we'll get to disease understanding faster. So it is really on all of our own shoulders to be part of this. So please sign up for that. I think that's it. That's all I have to go over in terms of what you all can do. Is this maybe a good time to open it up for Q&A? Steve, I don't know what questions may have come in via email. Do you want to start there, and then we can see if any questions come in on the chat?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. There was just a few questions that came in prior to the meeting. One was about lithium specifically, and I think we at the various conferences, we've spoken to this, but can just touch on it now. And on our website, there's some information on various medications that patients have tried, and Dani and I personally have been on at various times when we were having episodes. And I would say that, there are some studies out there indicating that lithium has some benefits for some people. Isabelle Arnolf has probably the largest study that she's done from France. And so you can read that. There are some side effects for some people, varying degrees, for lithium specifically. And I think all the medications that people have tried, you need to consult a doctor. I'm an accountant, and like I said earlier, so we're not doctors at the foundation. We connect with the medical community. So it's important that you work with your own physician, whether that person has seen a KLS patient or not, really just to understand kind of your personal situation and what medications you would like to try, right? There's been, I guess, two things. One is it's very hard to determine if a medication is effective for KLS because it comes and it goes. And so, you start into an episode, you take medication and the episode goes away. You don't necessarily always know, did the medication have a benefit, or did it just, kind of natural progression of the illness? The episode just went away. And because time between episodes is not always fixed, it really, for preventative type medications, hard to understand whether that medication is preventing or, it's just kind of, again, your normal cycle. So there's no medication or kind of treatment that we have seen to be effective, consistently across kind of, a long period of time, or, many patients. It's been kind of anecdotal stories here and there. And then when, you start to add things up, there's nothing that's been kind of consistently proven. So I don't know, Dani, if you have anything to add to that.
No, I don't. The only thing that I'm thinking of, Steve and I are not doctors. We are not in a position to provide medical advice. But one thing that we can do is, going back to the registry, there's a whole section there that asks about medications that patients have tried, and within each class of drug, whether that medication has had an effect on one particular symptom of KLS, whether or not that medication has helped assist you get out of an episode, and it also asks whether or not the medication, if you think it has been beneficial to prevent additional episodes. One thing that we can do is that we can aggregate all this information, and we can send that out. We can give the people that are using our registry and the entire community the answers that people are giving. And so again, we can't definitively tell you what medications do and do not work. We're not doctors. Nothing worked for me personally. I tried a whole host of different medications during my 10 years that I suffered from KLS, and nothing was effective either on the symptom side to get me out of episodes or to prevent me from falling into them. But what we can do is share with you the information that our community is sharing with us on the registry. And so that's something that we can do going forward. So again, that just goes back to please use the registry so that we can deliver that to you.
Yep. One of the other questions that came in, and we've gotten this question kind of over during the pandemic, is related to the vaccines. And one specific question we got from somebody said that they got their first dose of the vaccine and then they had a KLS episode. And I know all patients and parents have probably been there where you have an episode and then you look back to say, well, what caused that episode? Was it, was it the illness? Was it getting dental work done? Was it, drinking? Was it blow to the head? I mean, all these things that kind of are in the literature that's out there as potential kind of triggers for an episode. And I think Dani kind of spoke is what again, as an accountant, not a doctor, but as my kind of personal view is, it's things that kind of stress your system. And I think we're seeing some of that in the registry kind of questionnaire. And it's a lot of things. I don't think that we have any information that consistently people who are getting vaccinated are then going into KLS episodes. Sometimes that's just random chance. And I think when we had our last Zoom with the Stanford doctors, they were all very supportive of getting the vaccine. The one good thing about KLS is it's not fatal, and so when you're talking about, getting a vaccine that could prevent serious illness for you or others, I think they unanimously were supportive of all KLS patients getting the vaccine. So again, not coming from a medical professional, but you can go back and watch that last Zoom with Stanford that we did in the spring as well. Okay, and then we did get a question about specific diet. Nothing that currently we have, any data that suggests, this question was specifically about a low carb diet. I personally have been on a low carb diet recently. I feel better. I sleep better for the last couple of years. So, to the extent that it makes you feel better, you get more sleep, you're generally more healthy. I think that probably can't hurt, but we don't have any information, but maybe that's something, in the future we could add to the registry, as people sign up for that and we're able to kind of supplement some of the questions that are on there. I was looking at the chat to see if anybody has any additional questions.
Steve, there's one question that came in on the chat asking if there's any new information about links to the Jewish Ashkenazi population, anything that has come out of Stanford recently that sheds light on that potential connection.
Yeah, I know early on there were some studies that were done based in Israel, and so potentially those populations were a little bit skewed. My understanding is that there doesn't seem to be a predisposition either on race or sex or anything that we've been able to kind of see as kind of global data has expanded. But I don't know, Dani, if you have anything different on that or a different perspective at all.
No, I don't think there's been anything new on that front. I think Dr. Mignot's observations that there is a disproportionate number of KLS patients that are of Jewish heritage, and specifically within that with the Ashkenazi cohort of the Jewish population. I think that still stands. I don't think that he has done any new work recently to specifically explore that further, though.
Yeah.
Have you guys thought about having a database? The database for the patients is great, but I'm wondering if there should be a database for the family members or caregivers, because they know far more about what's really going on sometimes than the patient does. Like when I was diagnosed, I said, well, I don't know if those symptoms match. And my wife was falling over on the floor.
Yeah.
Saying, are you kidding? This is like a textbook description of you. Sometimes the pet family members have a better perspective on, like I might say I have an episode every so often, and my wife will say, what's wrong with you? No, that's not right.
Yeah, unfortunately, as patients, we don't always remember. So I know most of the information is from my parents, writing down in diaries. Dani, do you want to talk about kind of how the registry kind of specifically deals with being able to get that information in there?
Yeah, so the registry is it can work for either patients or for caregivers. So if you are, you can have one patient ID for an entire family. If you have a spouse who has KLS, you can fill that out on behalf of your spouse. You would put in the registry that you are not the patient, you are a partner. But then you would put your partner's name in the right spot as the patient. And then there's other areas within the registry that you can put more than one email address. You can put up to 5 people that are tagged to one specific participant, and that way an entire family, caregiver, friends, family can all be tagged to one particular patient. So I think that speaks a little bit to what you're asking, but if it doesn't, maybe I'm missing the question.
No, that was great.
Dani, Steve, there's 2 more questions that have come in through the chat. One is somebody is asking about patients who are planning to become parents, if you have any advice, or if the foundation has any advice for handling a new child and not having that be a constant trigger to getting sick. And the second question is asking if there is any new statistical evidence about the skew of male-female patients, because I know the original literature said they were more male patients. So I'll leave you two to address those two questions.
Yeah, let's do the second one first. I think the male-female one is probably an easier one. When you go back, especially the early literature or where there's very few cases that they did in a study, I think that you sometimes find some misinformation. That includes some of the medications, in some of those early articles where they say, oh, we gave lithium to the person that didn't have any episodes for 6 months. They were cured. Nobody circles back to correct that when the person has an episode in month 7. The paper's published and it's gone, right? So I think similar things happen. They have 4 patients and they're all male. And so they say, oh, this is just a male disease. And unfortunately today we sometimes have female patients who go to doctors and they have classic KLS symptoms, and the doctor will say, well, you're not a male, so you don't have that. That's just incorrect. We've put out a brochure that you can take with you to a doctor's appointment, to schools, to employers, to kind of share, and we continue to update that and refresh that. One of our volunteers, who's also a patient, Michael Hamper, has kind of led an effort to refresh that just recently, so it has kind of the latest and greatest information. But as of now, we kind of see that it impacts both males and females. There is not a skew one way or the other. I guess the second one's a little tougher. Having KLS and having kids at the same time. And Dani, I don't know, my kids we had after my last episode, so I never went through an episode when I had children. But it would have been difficult, and definitely would have had to lean on my wife and other family members during those times, and definitely the lack of sleep that comes with new kids could be something that potentially stresses you out and stresses your system, and could result in a KLS episode. It's not beyond kind of the reasonable.
Yeah, similar to Steve, my episodes had already stopped by the time I began having my children, so I can't speak personally to that. The way I'd answer it is, I would take a very similar approach to having kids that I took during my years when I was having episodes. I would just try to take all the steps to reduce unnecessary stress around me as much as possible, and just live as healthy a lifestyle as possible to reduce the probability that I would go into an episode. So that's how I'd answer it. But going back to the ways that we hope that we can foster volunteers within our community, I'm sure there is someone either on this call or within our community that has had children during periods of time when they were still going through KLS episodes. So that's a perfect example that we'd love to be able to connect you with someone that has firsthand experience going through something like that, and can maybe offer some helpful insights there. So I apologize that I can't speak to it personally, but hopefully we can put you in touch with someone that has. Yeah,
and I know there's been some of those kind of stories shared on the Facebook, and like with everything else, I think you can try to minimize the stress, get sleep, utilize partner, parents, friends, etc. The best you can, but just something that you eventually you could have an episode at the same time that you have kids, right? So personal choice and individual kind of trying to balance that has to be kind of an individual decision. I saw one question just to follow up on the registry. I think the registry data we have now is about 50-50, and there was a comment that maybe females fill out the registry at a higher percentage. that may or may not be true, but I think further studies over larger patient groups in the medical community. I know Arnulf's review study that she did, where she just and that was several years ago, but she gathered up every piece of KLS literature that she could get her hands on globally, and did a review that had similar results as well, where it was pretty even male female.
Steve, I know we're almost out of time, but there's one more question that I think might be a great stopping place because it goes to the heart of kind of all of this. Somebody's asking about the pattern of episodes that patients experience. And the person asking is saying it has not been his experience with the well-defined episodes and then lengthy intervals between them and then eventually growing out of it. So maybe you or Dani want to speak to the really diverse set of experiences that patients have, and what you have noticed is a pattern amongst folks.
Yeah, sure. It's another interesting thing. Some of the early literature had described episodes kind of almost very similar to my pattern, right? Where it was a couple, and Dani's pattern, I think, where it was a couple weeks, there was periods in between. But what we've come to realize is you get varying patterns in length and frequency of episode, as well as what I'll call the depth of episode. So, we see people that are kind of we kind of use the term rapid cyclers, where, they may have very shorter episodes, maybe less than a week, but they happen every other week or every couple of weeks. We also have people who are they have the long episodes, where they're in episodes for several months, or potentially even longer. And then there's a group in the middle that, it's 1 to, call it 10 to 17 days, and they're a few times a year. And that's probably what we see maybe as maybe the middle of the curve. If you think about it as a bell curve, there's kind of folks on both ends. So, we try to give information that is, going to be kind of the general information in something like a brochure that we put out. But there definitely are varying degrees. I think if we go back to the people that were really engaged with the foundation earlier on, back in the early 2000s, that are Dani's age and my age, the vast majority of those people, we don't have connection. They're not actively involved in the foundation because they stopped having episodes, years ago. And so they've been kind of less active, and we don't hear from them. So that's a great sign. But at the same time, we are aware of some people who, have episodes, later into life, and even some who seem to start the episodes not in their teen years, like the majority, but start it either later or some, even earlier than the teen years. So there are kind of those variations in the KLS population within the underlying symptoms of kind of the behavioral changes and the sleep patterns and all those things being very similar. So unfortunate, if you're still having episodes, later into life, hopefully at some point those will stop. Yeah, there's not one set kind of pattern of episodes or length of episodes or duration of how long those episodes and will continue to happen.
The only thing I'll add there, because what Steve said was a very wholesome answer, but in addition to different people experiencing different variations of episodes, within the same individual, your episodes can also evolve over time. My episodes that I had in my early years my episodes were shorter and more frequent. As I got older, my episodes were longer and spread out over a longer period of time. Don't really understand why that happens, but we've also observed that in patients, that the nature of the episodes have also evolved, as the passage of time occurs. And so with that in mind, it's probably a good place to mention that within the registry, we also have a feature. It's called the episode tracker. And so what the episode tracker is, the way the registry works is that there's a whole host of questions that we ask about, your demographics, your general health, and then also KLS specific questions. Those KLS specific questions, they ask you, they ask you questions that are the average, that are the aggregate of all your episodes. Did you sleep more during your episodes? Did you eat more? Were you able to watch TV? Those type of things. There's also a feature within the registry that is called the episode tracker that asks those questions on an episode by episode basis. So if your episodes are changing over time, or if you've answered the registry, and then over the next 3 or 4 years, unfortunately, you fall into an episode again, there's a place where you can go back and speak about what your specific experience was just within that episode. And we hope that this really serves two purposes. One, it's for the patient so that you can use this as sort of like a diary and be able to observe the way your episodes are potentially changing over time. And then we've also have this feature because it may be useful to researchers at some point in time, depending on the various answers that we see. So just wanted to highlight that in terms of episodes changing, there is a place within the registry that sort of addresses that.
Yeah, no, that's a great add. So I think that with that, I don't see any more questions come in, and we're almost out of time. So appreciate everybody joining. The foundation will continue to push for awareness and connectivity in the community, as well as research to find cause and cure. Please reach out if you have questions, if there's suggestions as to ways that we might be able to support the community better. You can reach out to us on the Facebook page or the group or phone or email. We'll be here to kind of continue the support effort, and happy to have other people join in that effort. So, again, reach out and connect with us, if you're interested in getting, more deeply involved. And thanks, Dani. Appreciate your time and kind of co-hosting this with me, and Ariel and Genevieve for, helping as well facilitate and prepare some of the content.
My pleasure. I'll leave it just saying that, look, we're all in this together, right? I mean, we're in complete alignment. Everyone that's on the call, that's part of our community, everyone that is an active member of the KLS Foundation, we all want the same thing, right? We all want the world to know what this terrible disorder is. We all want to support each other as we go through it, and then ultimately, we want to drive research and figure out a way how to stop it so it doesn't continue to afflict patients in the future. So, Steve and I, like you said, we'll continue to work behind the scenes alongside the other board members that we work with at the foundation. We don't see you and speak to you every day, but I'm not very visible on social media, but I just wanted to leave it and communicate that we really are all one team. We all want the same thing, and just thought it's important to leave it there. So thanks everyone for joining.